Ever wonder how the oil that fuels your daily commute could soon be the center of a high-stakes political showdown? With over 4.42 million barrels of Canadian crude and nearly 8.5 billion cubic feet of natural gas powering the U.S. Every day, a brewing trade war could change everything, and you won't want to miss out on how this might hit your wallet and lifestyle. Today, we're diving into a story that's too big to ignore and too close to home to miss. Imagine if the energy that keeps your car running and your home warm was suddenly at risk because of political games and trade battles. Right now, the U.S. depends on over 4.42 million barrels of Canadian oil and nearly 8.5 billion cubic feet of natural gas every single day. This isn't just about numbers on a page, it's about real-life impacts that could change the way you pay for gas, shop for groceries, or even plan your weekend. Stay tuned, because if you miss this video, you might miss the crucial details that could affect your daily life in ways you never expected. Chapter 1. The foundation of North American energy and trade for decades, Canada has been the top supplier of crude oil and natural gas to the United States. This relationship is rooted in history, geography, and shared infrastructure that has built an economic bridge between the two nations. According to the latest data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, as of 2024, the United States imports more than 6.5 million barrels per day of crude oil from Canada, an amount that accounts for approximately 60% of total U.S. crude oil imports. Even as the U.S. ramps up domestic production in a bid for energy independence, these numbers underscore a stark reality. American refineries still depend heavily on Canadian heavy, sour crude oil. When these energy flows are disrupted or altered, the effects are felt by the average consumer. Fluctuations in oil supply can lead to changes in gasoline prices, impacting how much drivers pay at the pump. Moreover, since energy costs influence manufacturing and transportation, everyday items from groceries to clothing may see price variations. This foundational interdependence means that shifts in energy policy or trade relations can directly affect household budgets and local job markets. Chapter 2. The rhetoric shift, denial to dependence. The dramatic evolution of political rhetoric on energy has played a significant role in this conflict. Formerly, President Trump was known for dismissing the need for Canadian oil, asserting that the United States possessed unlimited energy. However, in a surprising turn of events, his recent statements have acknowledged the undeniable fact that the U.S. energy sector leans heavily on Canadian supplies. This shift is most clearly seen in his renewed calls for the reconstruction of critical infrastructure such as the Keystone 40 pipeline, a project that would directly link Canadian oil fields to U.S. refineries. Behind this infrastructural promise lies an unspoken admission. Despite bold claims of self-sufficiency, the American economy remains deeply dependent on its northern neighbor. Such shifts in political messaging are more than just soundbites. They signal potential policy changes that could alter local job markets and community investments. For instance, a renewed focus on pipeline infrastructure might mean increased local employment opportunities in construction and engineering. Conversely, abrupt changes in energy policy can lead to market instability, potentially affecting everything from local service prices to property values in regions dependent on energy production. Chapter 3. The Keystone 40L Pipeline Saga. Let's now delve into one of the most polarizing elements of this dispute, the Keystone 40L Pipeline. Originally proposed in 2008 by TC Energy, then known as TransCanada, the project aimed to transport an additional 830,000 barrels of oil per day from Alberta's oil sands to refineries in the United States. Proponents claim that the pipeline would generate thousands of jobs and bolster North American energy security, while its detractors highlighted the severe environmental risks. Critics have pointed out that oil extracted from Alberta's tar sands can produce up to 14% to 20% more greenhouse gas emissions than conventional crude. Furthermore, the potential for catastrophic oil spills along its route, which crosses environmentally sensitive regions like the Nebraska Sandhills and the Ogallala Aquifer, sparked intense public and political debate. Political tides turned over the years. In 2015, President Obama blocked the project over environmental concerns. Then, in 2017, President Trump issued executive orders to fast-track it. By 2021, however, with a shift in policy under President Biden, the permit was revoked, and TC Energy officially terminated the project. The Keystone 40 saga has thus come to symbolize a larger battle between economic interests and environmental imperatives. For communities along the proposed pipeline route, the debate over Keystone 40L was never abstract. Proponents argued that the project would boost local economies and provide stable, well-paying jobs. On the flip side, environmental risks, such as potential oil spills, pose serious threats to local water supplies and public health. Families living near sensitive ecological areas worry about the long-term impacts on their environment, from contaminated water sources to reduced quality of life, while others in energy-dependent regions hope for the economic benefits that such projects might bring. Chapter 4. Trade war escalation, tariffs, and countermeasures. As if the energy debate wasn't heated enough, trade tensions between the US and Canada have reached a boiling point. In recent months, the US administration announced a sweeping 25% tariff on imports from both Canada and Mexico, with implementation slated for March 2025. Although energy products such as oil have been granted a reduced tariff of 10%, the move signals a broader policy shift towards protectionism. In response, the Canadian government has unveiled its own counter-tariff strategy. Ottawa plans to impose reciprocal tariffs on about CAD 155 billion worth of US goods, rolled out in 2 phases. The first phase, targeting roughly CAD 30 billion worth of products, will hit sectors including agriculture, consumer goods, and industrial materials. The second phase, set to launch later in March 2025, will extend these measures to another CAD 125 billion in imports, affecting industries like automotive, aerospace, and processed foods. Even as these measures create uncertainty, the robust economic ties between the two countries remain evident. Bilateral trade continues to exceed $700 billion annually. Trade wars have tangible effects on consumers. Increased tariffs can lead to higher prices for everyday items such as food, clothing, and electronics as companies pass on added costs to shoppers. Farmers and manufacturers might also face disruptions in supply chains, potentially leading to shortages or price volatility. For families, these changes can mean a tighter household budget and a more uncertain economic outlook, making everyday decisions from shopping to travel more challenging. Chapter 5. The statehood proposition. A symbol of bold rhetoric, one of the more dramatic twists in this unfolding drama has been former President Trump's provocative suggestion that Canada should become the 50th state of the United States. In a series of fiery social media posts, Trump argued that the United States subsidizes Canada by hundreds of billions of dollars, and that statehood would bring about lower taxes, the elimination of tariffs, and improved military protection for Canadians. This proposal was met with immediate and fierce criticism across Canada. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dismissed the idea as a snowball's chance in hell, while many citizens rallied around the sentiment that Canada is a proud and independent nation. Although the proposal was more a piece of political theater than a serious policy initiative, it starkly highlighted the contradictions in American policy. On one hand, the U.S. demands tougher trade terms to protect its economic interests, yet on the other, it is forced to admit its reliance on Canadian energy resources. While the statehood idea may seem far-fetched, it taps into deeper concerns about national identity and economic security. For everyday Canadians, such proposals can stir feelings of uncertainty and frustration about their country's sovereignty. Similarly, American consumers might find that such bold rhetoric could lead to unpredictable policy shifts that impact everything from tax rates to local economic conditions. Ultimately, whether taken literally or as a symbolic gesture, these debates remind us that political theatrics can have real-world consequences for how citizens view their economic future. In conclusion, the trade conflict between the United States and Canada over energy and tariffs is a complex and evolving issue that encapsulates decades of interwoven economic, political, and environmental challenges. The statistics are unmistakable. As of 2024, the United States imports over 4.42 million barrels of Canadian crude oil per day and nearly 8.5 billion cubic feet of natural gas, highlighting an indispensable reliance on Canadian resources. Yet, even as political leaders trade barbs, and proposed dramatic measures from sweeping tariffs to the provocative idea of statehood. The underlying economic ties remain robust, with bilateral trade surpassing $700 billion each year.